Hey guys, the Helpful Pharmacist. My name is Chris, and today we're going to talk about supplements. The goal here is to really talk about the safety concerns, to make sure people are aware. You're going to see here in a few minutes that supplements is actually a fairly complicated subject. I think a lot of people take it for granted, and they think it's really simple, it's really straightforward, it's not a big deal. And I think after today, you're going to realize there's a lot that goes into it. And you're going to really learn, what you need to know and what maybe you don't know. So again, my name is Chris. I'm the Helpful Pharmacist. I'm a biochemist and a pharmacist. I'm also a major supplement addict. To be fully honest, I've been taking supplements every single day for probably 15 or 17 years now. I range anywhere between typically 15 and 20 products. I personally believe in it. And just as a quick aside, for me, it's like when you understand the science and you learn the science, that's where supplements really make sense, because there's so many little things your body needs, and without those things, it's not good, and it's a problem. So we're going to talk about that today. So let me just get my stuff set up here. Just give me 1 second. Okay, cool. So 1 second here. I actually forgot to put my microphone in. I apologize about that. So let me just get that all plugged in here. This is going to take a second. Just want to make sure you guys can hear me and I have the proper audio going. So I apologize for that. Okay, cool. Sorry about that. So again, like I said, today we're talking about all things supplements, especially on the safety. And like I said, I think you're definitely going to have a big takeaway from today that supplements maybe are not as safe as you think they are, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't take them. So anyways, topic today is, are supplements safe? And we're going to get into that. So I just want to make sure people are clear from the very beginning here that in terms of supplements, the FDA doesn't really have much of a role here, which I think a lot of people don't understand and misinterpret. So it's not like drugs where it's regulated by the FDA. There's really no oversight. And I think a lot of people misunderstand that. And so I went on the FDA website and I read some information, and I was just really disappointed with the lack of information they had. Basically, they do not want to be involved in this, and the information that they have is very minimal. They talk about that it's not to replace food. It's not supposed to be designed to cure or treat disease. It comes in capsules and tablets, and that ultimately you need to talk to a healthcare provider. And just to make sure we're on the same page, we want to make sure that everyone understands what we mean by supplements. We're talking about vitamins, minerals, things like multivitamin, vitamin D, calcium, magnesium, herbs or botanicals like echinacea or ginger, things like turmeric or curcumin. We do have some protein powders or amino acids like glutamines. And there's also things called like live microbials, which is a fancy word for probiotics. So just kind of give some examples of what we're talking about here. So again, talking about the FDA and why do we take supplements, basically the goal is to improve your health, but not all the health claims are, science-based, and there is some potential for concern. So they kind of say, user beware, take it at your own risk. And there's the potential for drug interactions. So a lot of people don't realize that supplements can actually contain pharmaceuticals by accident or on purpose, because companies are trying to cut corners. And the results of that is a real increased risk of drug interactions. So if you're someone out there who takes prescription drugs, you definitely need to pay attention, especially if you're taking pain meds, psych meds, cardiovascular disease meds, or diabetes medications. Those are the 4 classes I worry the most about. And again, the concern here is that supplement, which is contaminated, could potentially elevate the levels of those prescription drugs, making them unsafe or making them not work as well, or a combination of both. So easy examples, if you're taking a medication to prevent heart attack or stroke, and that supplement basically makes that drug not work, you have an increased risk for heart attack or a stroke, which obviously is not a good thing. So I want to make sure people are also aware of that. That's a real concern in my opinion. So really, I want to emphasize the point that supplements are not all safe, and they're definitely not all equal. And so one of the big things to be mindful of, the number one takeaway from today is that you should never take a supplement that is not third-party certified. And so what I mean by third-party certified is there's groups out there called NSF, USP, and Informed Choice. Those are the three big ones. And the supplement companies send a product to them, and they basically test it. And they make sure that what's on the labels in the product, and they make sure what's not on the label is also not in the product, which is a big deal. And we're going to get into that. And really what I want people to understand is if your product is not third-party certified, you really don't know what's in it. You have no idea what's in it, what's not in it. And that should be a very scary thing for people out there, because we're going to see later in some examples, a lot of supplements fall into this tainted category. And there's a lot of people out there that are taking stuff that they don't realize, and that's not good. I also want to emphasize that there's not a lot of government regulation here, especially for the facilities that are manufacturing supplements outside of the United States. I actually got to meet one of the directors of the FDA several years ago, and in his presentation, he said that they've only on-site investigated or inspected about 5% of all the global manufacturing companies that manufacture supplements that are imported and sold in the United States. So this is to give you an example that a lot of these are not regulated, and the FDA is not really tasked or capable of protecting you here, which is why these third-party certifications are so important. So I want to give an example of the risk of non-certified supplements. I found a study in a medical journal article or a medical journal publication called JAMA. It's one of the more popular ones. And the researchers here were Harvard Medical School, NSF, and also a National Health Center for Product Research in Mississippi. And what they did was they bought 57 products online, supplements, and then tested them. And what they found was that 40% of those products didn't even contain the ingredient on the label. So I'll say that again. About 30 of the products they bought did not contain the ingredient that was on the label. So imagine going and buying a supplement and then realizing the ingredient that you bought is not even in the supplement. What are you buying? Just to give you an example. They also found that some of the products had up to as much as 334% or 3 times the amount that was listed on the label. So again, you're buying something, you think there's 100 milligrams in there. Well, guess what? There's 300 milligrams. And the common example I use for this, most people were aware of, was melatonin. A couple of years ago, a study came out and they found a lot of the melatonin products had 4 times the amount of melatonin on the label, which again is very concerning, potentially unsafe, and can cause harm. And again, if you're taking prescriptions and you're taking supplements and now you're taking 2 or 3 or 4 times the amount of the ingredient, there's definitely an increased risk for harm compared to safe supplements. They also found that in that study that only 6 of the 57 supplements actually contained the ingredient in the listed amount. So again, they bought 57 supplements and 51 of them did not contain the ingredient in the proper amounts, which if it was a prescription would not be legal. So again, we're trying to give some real evidence-based examples here of how when you do not take certified supplements, you have no idea what you're taking, and there's a lot of evidence to show that they're not safe. So again, if you're just coming in and you're tuning in, whether you're rewatching or watching this live, my name is Chris. I'm the Healthful Pharmacist. I am a biochemist and a pharmacist. Today we're talking about supplement safety, and I'm trying to help people understand that supplements are not unsafe inherently, and you really need to be careful about the brands and the products you take, because if you don't do that, you're really putting yourself at risk, especially for people who are taking prescription drugs. They especially need to pay attention because there's an increased risk of the contaminated ingredients in those supplements interacting with their prescriptions. The other example that we're giving here of the risk of non-certified supplements, this was a study that was done by Consumer Reports. And based off the study, what they did is they went out and they bought some products off Amazon and off eBay. Just as an aside, I don't know why anybody would buy supplements off eBay. So if you're buying supplements on eBay, please, please, please don't ever do that again. I don't know why you would think that's a good idea. In this example, they bought 26 products off Amazon, many of which were listed as the #1 bestseller or Amazon's choice on the Amazon website. And based off the report, citing the words they used, and the FDA's latest testing, all 26 products purchased by the agency on Amazon contain undeclared pharmaceutical ingredients, according to an FDA news release. So again, the FDA went out, they bought some supplements off Amazon, they tested them, and they found all 26 of the supplements they bought had pharmaceuticals in them. They were contaminated. And many of these were listed as the #1 bestseller or Amazon's choice. So these are not the bottom of the page products that nobody buys. These are the ones they put at the top, just to give an example. And the same thing with eBay. All the ones they bought off eBay were contaminated. So there's a lot of evidence out there that's showing you that a lot of supplements are not safe. They're contaminated. They're not really regulated. And as a consumer, you really have to do your own research to protect yourself because there's not really anyone else that's doing it for you. Okay. And ultimately, if you look at the FDA's website again, and you talk about their position on safety, they basically say that they found a lot of contaminated supplements and they don't really know which of them, in terms of the ones that are still being sold, are good for you. And so they recommend you use your own judgment. So they're basically leaving it up to you. So that's why we're talking about this today. I'm going to teach you guys how to basically protect yourself. So basically, patients are always asking me, what do I do then? If supplements aren't safe, or I want to take supplements, or I'm already taking supplements, what do I do? So the number one recommendation is there's no reason to buy supplements that are not made from the top 5 or top 10 brands. And that's because these brands have all the quality assurance. They do internal testing, external testing. They have huge reputations, and the products that they make are basically known to be safe. And the examples of those brands, the ones that I personally recommend, are typically Thorne, Pure Encapsulations, Garden of Life. And for people who are taking sports supplements or specific sports supplements, there's a company called Bear Performance Nutrition. They have good products. They're all third-party certified. And if you find those products too expensive, some other 2 companies that make certified supplements that are a little bit cheaper would be Now and Jaro. Those are typically like the entry-level supplements that you'll see educated people taking. So again, my point here is there's no reason to not take supplements that are not made from these companies. It's just not worth it. The second point that I want to make is that you should only really decide which supplements to take in terms of the products after talking to a licensed healthcare professional who's also a supplement expert. And that's because a lot of people don't understand the research. They don't understand the products themselves. They kind of fall prey to online marketing, and they end up making wrong decisions and wasting their money, basically. But I also want to emphasize that not all healthcare professionals are supplement experts. So you do also want to be mindful, and you want to ideally find someone who's both, which is not necessarily the case. And again, I recommend that you generally avoid doing your own research because it's really easy to take science out of context. And if you don't have that fundamental understanding to really process what's going on, again, you're prone to coming to the wrong conclusions, wrong ideas, and not making the best or most informed decision, which we want to try to avoid. So again, I am pro supplements. I take a lot of supplements. Like I said, I have for a long time, and I definitely will for the rest of my life. I do own a pharmacy, and I am always advocating them to my patients. So I do believe in them. So let's talk about what the purposes or what the benefits are. Again, like I want to mention that when you learn about science, you realize how interesting the body is and how these supplements play a major role in the body. And ultimately that if you don't have what your body needs, it's not going to be good. So some of the examples of really common things that most people have heard about are, B12, folic acid, vitamin D, vitamin C, calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, and zinc. These are all really good, easy examples of things the body absolutely needs. And if you don't have them, either in optimal amounts or you don't have them at all, it's not going to be very good for you. And the main example I like to use here is magnesium. So it turns out that magnesium is involved in over 300 enzymatic reactions in your body. So what's an enzyme? Enzyme is basically an engine that speeds up a reaction and makes something possible. So none of us would be here without enzymes. Enzymes basically do 75% of all the work or activity in your body. And without magnesium, those enzymes either cannot function or don't function properly. So imagine you have 300 separate sites in your body where necessary or essential things are done, and magnesium is required for those things to happen or happen optimally, and suddenly you don't have enough magnesium. It's hard to imagine you're going to have good health. I also want to include a really crazy example here. It's a little scientific, so bear with me, please. But your body uses a molecule called ATP to make energy. So you take carbs, which turn into glucose, you turn glucose into ATP, and ATP is like the energy source for your body. So the car, if your body was a car and an engine, ATP is like the gasoline in your gas tank. You got to have gasoline for the car to work. You got to have ATP for your body to work. Same concept. What's crazy is that if you convert 1,600 calories, which is a comparable amount of calories that people burn on a daily basis, into ATP, it's actually 244 pounds of ATP. So I weigh about 180 pounds, but my body is somehow using 244 pounds of ATP a day, which shows you that the body is going through recycling and turning over all the ATP in its body like 5 to 10 times a day, which is just a mind-blowing concept that a 180-pound person could consume 240 pounds of something that's inside their body at all times. It's a crazy concept, and it illustrates how dynamic the body is, how much goes into it. And I'm trying to emphasize here that there's a lot of things that must and do go into that. And when you don't have all those things, that can't happen properly. The body is very dynamic, and it needs what it needs to function. So now I want to give some examples of some supplement benefits. I'm picking the easiest ones here to make the best points. So the first one is going to be probiotics. So it turns out you have between 4 and 5 pounds of bacteria in your stomach at all times. It's about 100 trillion cells. So you actually have more bacterial cells in your body than your entire body is made about of. That's because these bacterial cells are much smaller than yours. So although there's more of them, they're smaller. And it's actually considered to be an organ now. And it's actually considered to be the 6th largest organ in your body by a lot of measures and metrics. And what's interesting about it is that 2/3 of all the serotonin in your body is actually made in your gut. So serotonin is the feel-good neurotransmitter. It's responsible for much of your nervous system, your muscle function, lots of things in your body. Turns out most of that serotonin is actually made by the bacteria in your gut. So if you're having anxiety issues, mood issues, depression issues, there's a good chance you have a problem with the bacteria in your gut. And it's a great example of a set of patients who would benefit from probiotics. Also, it turns out that 2/3 of your immune system takes place in your gut. So if you're someone that gets sick a lot, you're prone for an infection, you just chronically don't feel well, there's a good chance that the bacteria in your gut are not optimized. What's also interesting is it turns out that a lot of the food you eat, you can't actually absorb by yourself. It's got to be broken down by these bacteria first. So a lot of the nutrients, your diet, your absorption, they require probiotics to function properly. And these are some reasons why probiotics are typically considered one of, if not the most important supplements. And at the same time, why I recommend this as the most important supplement to everybody. So the next one I want to talk about is protein. Obviously, we've all heard of protein, but there's some cool points here I want to make and emphasize. So the first one is that there's actually 9 amino acids that your body can't make. So just so we're on the same page, amino acids and proteins are basically interchangeable terms. Amino acids come in a sequence, which form a protein, just to be a little bit more technical. And there's actually 9 of them your body can't make. They're called essential amino acids. So imagine you have these things, amino acids or proteins that you need, but they don't make them in your body, which very much illustrates they have to come from your diet. And a lot of people, they can't eat enough protein. They can't eat enough protein healthy sources. It's a great example of how it's hard to get everything you need. And in this case, you can't even make it, which means if you can't get it in your diet, you're kind of not in a good situation. And some really easy examples of things that this could impair or affect is your immune system, your nervous system, your muscles, and your skin. All of these things require proteins or amino acids. And when you don't have them in the proper amounts, your health is probably going to suffer and definitely not be optimal. So I want to include that in there. And then my personal favorite example that I always like to share because it really emphasizes this point is in biochemistry, there's a term called a zinc finger. A zinc finger is a fancy term for a protein that binds DNA. So DNA is basically like a string. The protein comes in and binds it, and it basically does what it does. And it basically replicates. So every time you have a problem, you get sick, you get stressed, you don't sleep a lot, you don't exercise, you build muscle, you're using DNA. And you're using these zinc fingers to use that DNA. Now imagine you don't have zinc. Suddenly you can't bind DNA. So when you get sick, your body can't respond as well. When you have anxiety, your body can't respond as well. When you go to build muscle, your body can't respond as well because you need zinc to use DNA. We all pretty much at this point know what DNA is. It's where all the information in your body is. So imagine not being able to use that in all those situations. Obviously, that's going to impair your health. And so this is a great example of what happens when you don't have what you need and why supplements are typically worth taking and have benefits when you understand which ones to take, why to take them, and which brands to take, which makes them safe. And again, just taking a step back, talk about supplement safety, helping you understand it. And I'm trying to basically emphasize why you need to be careful. And in this case, why you need typically a health professional or supplement expert or both to help educate you. Because there is a lot of really good science out there to guide the decisions and guide the products you're using to make sure that you're taking as both safe and going to give you a benefit. The last thing you want to do is waste your money on something that's going to hurt you or not help you. And basically, if you don't know which products to buy, that's exactly what you're going to be doing. So it's again why I'm making this education today is because I don't want people wasting their money or getting hurt or both. And I want to help you understand what that process looks like. Also, again, I just want to illustrate what happens when your body doesn't get what it needs. So again, I'm going to use the analogy of a car. So imagine there's no gas in the tank, there's no fluid in the radiator, there's no engine oil or not enough engine oil in the engine, or the tires have no pressure. Most of us have been in these situations. We know what happens. The car breaks down, it smokes, it doesn't work, and we pull over and we get stuck, right? Well, your body is very similar. When you don't give your body what it needs, eventually it's going to break down, it's going to have problems, and some of those problems can be really significant and potentially preventable is my point here. And again, I want to mention that, your body will continue to work, but for how long and at what cost? That's the real thing that people don't, I think, understand, is that yes, you don't need supplements to live, but the question is, are you going to thrive? Are you going to be optimal, top of your game? And if you do become deficient, what cost is that going to happen with your health and could have been prevented? Why would you want to have a health issue in the future that you could have prevented by spending a couple of dollars a day on some supplements? That's personally how I look at it. I also want to mention that when your body doesn't have what it needs, it typically reverts to something like Plan B. And Plan B may get the job done today, but typically over the duration of time, Plan B is not good for you. An example I think is great is when you go running and you run too fast or you run too hard, you get lactic acid. This is due to lack of oxygen. So again, Plan B, the body's like, dang, I don't have any oxygen. What do? I'm going to make energy this way, which makes lactic acid. In a lot of examples, that's why you get sore and tired and stiff, especially the next day. So again, your body's able to run, but because it doesn't have enough oxygen, it goes to Plan B, which makes lactic acid, which is typically why you get sore after a workout. Just to kind of be an example of how there's a long-term or even a short-term consequence to using Plan B. I also want to mention that, when you don't get enough sleep. So you can sleep 5 or 6 hours a night, but do you feel good when you wake up? Probably not. When 4 or 5 o'clock comes and you're still busy at work, do you feel good? Probably not. So again, I'm trying to emphasize that you may be able to survive without these things, but you definitely will not thrive, or it's more difficult to thrive. And that's a big part of where I think supplements come into play, is they basically take us from average health to great health, or from great health to fantastic health. And for people who want to push the envelope, whether it's life, work, physical training, if you have issues like anxiety, sleep issues, memory issues, muscle pain issues, body pain issues, skin issues, digestion issues, these are all things that we can cite science and show that there's probably a correlation here, and that by taking these supplements, you're probably going to get some benefit and potentially even almost curative, although I don't really want to use the word curative with supplements, but just to give that example. Again, we're trying to emphasize here that a lot of the things your body needs you can't get in your diet. So this is a common feedback I get. Why do I need supplements? I can eat food. Great. Okay, cool. Like, how many salads do you eat every single day? How many issues or things? One second here. I got a microphone issue. I'm just going to fix this. Sorry about that, guys. Messed up with the microphone today. My bad. So again, how many people are eating a perfect meal every single day for 3 meals a day? It's not very common. It takes time, money, energy. Most people don't have that. So again, this is a great example of where supplements can come into play. There's also things you can't get into your diet. So things like probiotics, fish oils, collagen. So it turns out 30% of your body by dry weight is made out of collagen, but your body makes almost no collagen. And as you get older, it makes less and less collagen, which to me is a crazy concept. Like, imagine 30% of your body is made out of collagen, but you don't make collagen or enough collagen. I think that pretty much settles and explains why supplements can have a benefit. So it makes it very easy to understand that if you start taking a collagen supplement, you're giving your body what it needs that it can't make on its own. And obviously, if 30% of your body by dry weight is made of collagen, collagen must be pretty important. So this is a great example. Another one, something like turmeric. So a lot of people will say, oh, I eat Indian food once a week, I'm getting plenty of turmeric. Well, I hate to break it to you guys, but the turmeric that you cook with has little to no medicinal benefit. Typically, they use the wrong part of the plant, they process it wrong, they overcook it, and they denature the protein, and it's not concentrated enough that you're getting enough of the actual active ingredient. So there's a lot of reasons why turmeric is not something you can get in your diet. At the same time, turmeric is one of the most potent anti-inflammatories and antioxidants. So for things like free radicals, and it's also really good at turning on good genes and turning off bad genes. Like when you're stressed or you're sick, you need to respond to life. You're changing the genes you're using. We talked about earlier, it's called epigenetics, to use a fancy term here. Turmeric has been shown and proven to play a major role in that. So if you want to be adaptive, if you want to be able to do the stuff that you want to do and thrive at it, it's a great example of something that will help you, but you can't get in your diet. And then again, I also want to mention my favorite class of herbs here are adaptogens. There's no way you're getting adaptogens in your diet. So for people who are saying, I can get everything I need in my diet, well, you probably don't know about adaptogens. I personally think adaptogens are probably the most life-changing supplement out there. And we have videos on that. You can reference those. But in a quick nutshell, they reduce your stress. So we're all stressed. Stress is probably the number one component of modern life, whether it's work, home, physical, mental, emotional, whatever it is, we all have stress. And we all know that stress isn't good for us. And we all know that when we get stressed and we stay stressed, it typically gets worse and bad things happen. So there's this really cool class of herbs called adaptogens, and they can treat stress almost like nothing else by, again, reducing cortisol, which is a stress hormone. They can also increase your attention, increase your focus, increase your energy, and they can also reduce your anxiety. That's one of the best things they do, actually, is they reduce your anxiety. They calm the mind, they soothe the mind, and they make it much easier to go with the flow, to not overreact, to keep your cool, to keep your calm, and stay in the fight, as some people say. We don't want to go off. We all have that friend that gets really upset and they just disappear, and we don't see them for a couple of days because they just can't handle the stress, and that happens. So if you know someone like that, or you happen to be like that, adaptogens are a great example. And again, it's not something you can get in your diet. So we're trying to give examples here of things that you need that come in the form of supplements that you can't get in your diet. For all those people out there that say you don't need supplements, well, here's some examples. I challenge you to show me how you're getting these things in your diet, because you're not. So the last major point I want to really close in here about the supplements is, why isn't everyone taking supplements? Or why aren't all the doctors prescribing supplements? I get this question all the time. It's a great question. So we're gonna go into a little bit right now. So I want people to understand that with prescription drugs, they all have clinical trials. Without a clinical trial, it can't be a prescription drug. It's literally a legal requirement. You have to have a clinical trial. The issue there is that a clinical trial at a minimum costs between $20 million and $200 million just for the clinical trial. That's a lot of money, right? I don't have $2 million in my bank account. I wish I did. I doubt you do either. Just a kind of an example of, if you want to pay to play in supplements or clinical trials, that's the cost. And because it's hard to patent things that are like minerals, herbs, or naturally occurring things, which most supplements are, my point is that it's not a very good business model. It's really hard to spend $200 million to do a clinical trial on a supplement and get your money back. And we all know these big companies, they want to make profits, which is understandable. And if they can't patent what they're investing into, it's not a good product for them. So I think, to me, this is the main reason why you don't see clinical trials on supplements, is because they're too expensive and you cannot recoup your cost. It's not like a drug where you can spend a couple $100 million and then sell $1 billion for 15 or 20 years and turn your $500 million investment into $20 billion, which is how it works. Ozempic's a great example. Supplements, the market's not that big. And as soon as I do FDA approval or clinical trial on a supplement, 5 other companies will make the same thing. I cannot patent an herb. I cannot patent a mineral. And so therefore, it's really hard for me to recoup my costs. So that's the number one thing I want people to be aware of. For all those people out there that say there's no clinical trials that prove supplement works, it's much more complicated than that. It is a pay-to-play system. It costs tens of millions and hundreds of millions of dollars to do FDA-approved clinical trials. And because of the economics of supplements, it's not a financial viable option. And just so we're all clear, that's going to be one of the main reasons why we don't see robust clinical trials for supplements. I wish it wasn't the case, but it is. Okay. I also want to point out that there are smaller clinical trials out there, typically with 50 or 100 people, that are very short term, and they're just measuring very basic metrics. And people will point out that oftentimes those trials don't have good benefits. But I also want to point out that almost always they're using inferior supplements. They're using a Centrum vitamin, or they're using an herb that's the wrong species of the herb, the wrong part of the plant's processed improperly, which denatures it. Or they're using a supplement, like we said, that doesn't even contain the ingredient. That's the best example. So imagine you're claiming to be a scientist who claims to do research in a supplement, and you're testing a supplement which may have been shown to not even contain the ingredient in it. Is it any wonder why these results are not positive or impressive? And look, pull up some research, look at it. A lot of times they're using the lowest quality brands and quality ingredients, or they're not taking the time to understand that, or taking the time to understand what is the actual part of the plant they're going to use. So it's no wonder the small trials that do exist have inferior or questionable results. They're using the wrong ingredients. It's really straightforward. If you look into it, it's pretty apparent. And we'll go into that at a later date with more videos. I also want to mention the idea that the benefit sometimes from supplements is smaller than a pharmaceutical, and that's expected because of the mechanism of action. And the example I use here is if you go and exercise for one day, how much benefit do you notice? Do you wake up after one day lifting weights and have giant muscles, have endless amount of energy in whatever you're trying to achieve? No, it doesn't work that way. But we all know exercise helps us. We all know exercise is essential. It improves our health. And we all know with enough time that exercise will produce big muscles, will run faster, whatever it may be. So again, like I'm trying to emphasize here that it's not like a drug where you can take a tablet right now and feel something right now. A lot of things don't work like that. Most things don't work like that. Pharmaceuticals are kind of unique in how fast their onset is, which makes them really easy to study. Or just use the example of like alcohol. You take a shot of alcohol and you feel it in what, like 30 seconds? There's not a lot of things that work like that. And if that's the metric that you're using to evaluate something, it's like, yeah, no wonder you're going to have a biased outcome. You're looking at it wrong. You're using a very narrow, unfair, unreasonable metric to evaluate the outcomes or the benefits. It's very biased. No wonder your studies are going to be questionable. You can't afford them. You're using the wrong ingredient, and you're only measuring it for a couple of days or a couple of weeks, which we know is not long enough to know its benefits. You know, if I tried to measure a study of gaining muscle and I measured it for a week, no one gains muscle in a week. So in that example, no matter what you did, you're not going to have a benefit. I'm trying to illustrate that point here as well. I also want to include the fact that it's really hard to measure health. So if you go from average health to good health to great health to 100% health, how do you measure that? It's kind of difficult. It's really hard to make a survey or a lab value or whatever it is to measure that to actually quantify it versus things like blood pressure, blood sugar, having an infection. Those are very easy to measure. It's typically a single lab. You measure one thing. It goes up, it goes down. It's very easy to measure. But something like health doesn't work like that. And so I think that's another really important thing for people to understand is when we talk about supplements or wellness or health, we're measuring a very gray or non-quantifiable result or outcome versus prescription drugs work the opposite. They're on purpose picking something that's very measurable and making that the goal because they know that they can measure and they know they can measure the benefit. So I think that's something that gets really left out of the conversation here is that most people are picking the wrong metrics or the wrong time frames, which skews the studies. And I also just want to include, again, we're talking about why not everyone takes supplements. Is a lot of people, they just wait until they get sick to get help. And typically supplements are a preventative game. They're because you want to stay healthy or you want to get better. And unfortunately, a lot of people out there, they're not that interested in that. Until they get sick, until they have a problem, they're not really going to become engaged into it. And that's not really what supplements do. So for a lot of people, intuitively, supplements may not be the best fit. And that's part of why we're educating people today is that just because you're healthy today doesn't mean you're going to be healthy tomorrow. And if you wait too long or if you wait until you get sick, oftentimes you've exhausted your best options, which is why preventative medicine and taking supplements while you're healthy has a major role because that's how you basically maintain that health and prevent yourself from getting sick. So again, if you're just joining us right now, if you're watching this on the repeat, my name is Chris. I'm the Helpful Pharmacist. Today we're talking about supplement safety. Basically, we're trying to help you educate that most supplements are probably not safe or not what they say they are. You really need to take third-party certified supplements. They come from top 5 brands like Thorne, Pure Encapsulation, and Garden of Life. And it really doesn't make sense to waste your money on things that aren't of those brands. We're talking about how you can't get everything from your diet. So things like probiotics you can't get in your diet, things like turmeric, adaptogens, fish oils in the proper amounts you really can't get from your diet. And we're also talking about how your body is basically a machine and it needs a lot of things like calcium, magnesium, zinc, vitamin D, vitamin C to work properly. And a lot of people cannot get those in optimal amounts in their diets, which is a great example of where supplements can play a role. For all the people out there that say, well, you can eat healthy and you don't need supplements, I challenge you, how perfect is your diet? Most people don't have a perfect diet. Most people don't eat 3 perfect meals every single day, 365 days a year, which again makes that argument kind of weak. And at the same time, a lot of things you can't get in your diet. And And we also talked about how clinical trials are very expensive, tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars. It's difficult to measure the benefits in supplements because it's hard to measure health or health versus healthier. And at the same time, a lot of those studies are using inferior supplements, which we know are tainted or may not even contain the actual ingredient we're measuring, just to kind of give some examples of why supplements are not more established through science or what we consider clinical trial-based science. So again, kind of closing up here, getting towards the end, the big takeaway is do not buy supplements from non-established vendors. There are so many examples, and we've gone through them, of companies that are bad, vendors that are bad, things like Amazon, where when the FDA studied it, all the products were contaminated. Or other companies that are, random low-end companies that they have no third-party certification and they've been caught with tainted supplement. You need to stay away from all of that. And basically, it does not make sense to deviate out of those top 5 brands. And it does not make sense to buy supplements from someone you can't trust, because we have things like counterfeit, incorrect storage, made improperly, the list goes on and on. And ultimately, it does not make sense to try to save a few dollars to buy something that's inferior, that could cause harm, especially if you're taking prescription medications. There is a real risk of drug interactions, and it's something that there's no reason to expose yourself to. So to kind of give some of my personal feelings here, now we've gone through the science, the literature, the FDA, the market as a whole, my personal feelings. I believe in high quality research supplements taken for known reasons. And I think that's really what's lacking and missing is, again, most supplements are not high quality. Most people are not understanding the research to guide the supplements they take, and they don't understand the reasons they are taking them for or the reasons they should be taking them for. So again, if you have 4 or 5 problems and you take a supplement to treat the least impactful or least important problem, or you take a supplement with the least amount of benefit for that problem, you're wasting your time and your money and your energy. So part of what I try to do is rank the supplements by benefit in terms of what they've been shown to do and how they impact your health, and educate people to start with this one, and then this one, and this one, and then this one, and down the list. And again, I call it personally my pharmacist curated supplement selections. Again, I am a pharmacist. I have my own company, my own pharmacy. It's called Your Personal Pharmacy. You can find us on the internet at www.yourpersonalpharmacy.net. And we definitely sell all these supplements and provide all the education, both through the website and through our YouTube channel, like things like today. And basically, my philosophy is that you should not buy supplements without talking to a healthcare professional first. And more specifically, you need to find a healthcare professional such as myself, who's a supplement expert. I've been taking supplements for 15 to 20 years. I have a biochemistry degree, molecular biology degree, pharmacology degree. All of these things combined is what allows me to say this information and make these recommendations, both to keep you safe and to make sure you're getting the benefit. And unfortunately, most people out there don't have that input into their supplement protocols. And I think, again, that's why supplements have a bad rep. So I just want to mention some of the supplements that I think are important. Again, we have vitamins and minerals like vitamin D, vitamin C, turmeric, magnesium, calcium, whey protein are some really great products I think everyone should be taking. Things like fish oils. I just find those as things that treat nutrition, so vitamins, minerals, and proteins. We have things that reduce inflammation like vitamin C, vitamin D, turmeric, and fish oils. We have things that work on the wear and tear on your body. So that would be things like collagen, glucosamine, and chondroitin for your joints, your skin, your hair, and your nails. Those supplements can definitely help. And then also the things that I describe as life boosters. So again, things like adaptogens, which can boost your energy, your focus, your memory by reducing your stress levels. Things like CoQ10, which can boost your energy production, your mitochondria. Things like creatine, which have a long list of benefits, including memory function and cognition is the new thing. It turns out that creatine can really boost your brain function. That's a big topic, more on that to come, as well as your physical performance, giving your muscles more energy, the ability to heal and repair faster. And one of my other favorite products that people don't talk about a lot, which are the lecithin, sunflower lecithin, which is really good at boosting your memory and your cognition. Again, it makes sense because the brain is made up of fatty acids. Lecithin is only fatty acids. So it makes sense if we're taking fatty acids, they're going to go to our brain and boost our brain function. Just kind of a quick aside there. And again, all of my personal opinion and professional opinions here in my practice is based off my understanding of molecular and cellular biology. Because when you do those studies, you understand these processes on a very specific level, And it becomes very clear how this makes sense. You need B12 to have a metabolism. You need vitamin C to get rid of free radicals. You need vitamin D to do all these random processes in your body. And when you don't have those things, your body's going to suffer. So I kind of describe it as like a superfood concept, that you know you need these, you know you're probably not getting enough of these, and you know when you consume them in the proper or optimal amounts, it's going to boost your function just like a superfood. To me, supplements are the next iteration of that. And I think that's a great way to look at it. It's a very dense nutrient-containing compound, which has been shown to target key parts of your body and give you a lot of health benefits. And again, I also want to emphasize that this is my personal experience, my professional experience, and talking to dozens and hundreds of other patients and healthcare practitioners. All this information has been synthesized together. And what I really think people need is a personalized approach. So with the patients I work with personally, I get to know them, I ask them questions, I engage with them. I did a consultation today. I spent a full hour talking to a person, learning about their history, their life, their goals, their barriers, their needs, their concerns. I basically take that and synthesize it into a recommendation. So they're getting exactly what they need that science has shown is going to benefit them, which is also going to help them in the long run, which I think is a really important point to make. Most people aren't doing that. So really in closing here, talk about supplement safety and are supplements safe? It's not that straightforward, and I hope you can understand that point now. If you're taking third-party certified supplements, it's very safe, and there's going to be a lot of benefit, especially if you take the right products. But if you're not taking third-party certified supplements, which most people are not doing, they're taking non-certified supplements, there's a lot of risk and a lot of concern. And if you're taking prescription medications, you really could be harming yourself, and you may not know it. And there's a lot of examples of that. And again, the prescription drugs I worry the most about are going to be pain meds, psych meds, cardiovascular disease meds, and psych meds. So again, if you're on prescription medications, please, please, please do not take non-certified supplements, and please talk to a healthcare professional to make sure what you're doing is safe. I just had an example today with another patient. They were taking a supplement that I personally didn't think was safe for them because of their disease states. So regardless of how certified it was, I personally didn't think it was proper for them to take that. That would be an example of how a healthcare professional can help you. Only take supplements from known brands. There's absolutely no reason to deviate from this. The cost is not worth the risk that you're taking. And again, the brands I recommend are going to be Thorne, Pure Encapsulations, Garden of Life. Those are my three favorite ones. Almost all the products I recommend and take come from them. And if you're someone who's trained a lot for sport, Thorne has a lot of products, but some of the other more extreme ones, a good company is Bayer Performance Nutrition. Everything they do is Informed Choice certified, which I respect. Again, get a healthcare professional involved and understand that just because someone's a healthcare professional does not mean they're a wellness expert. Those things are not 100% the same, so you need to understand that concept. For a lot of people out there, they are not getting what they need from their diet, or getting everything you need from your diet can be challenging for lots of reasons: time, money, energy, all of the above. And that's a great example of where supplements can come in and play a role. So for people out there that say you don't need supplements because you can get through your diet, again, I challenge you, how perfect is your diet? I guarantee you have a deficiency in your diet, no matter who you are and what you do. It's just the way the world works. And then I also, again, want to emphasize that a lot of things your body wants or needs you cannot get from your diet, things like probiotics, fish oils, things like turmeric, adaptogens, collagen. You just can't get them from your diet. So if that's your reasoning, I hope I have disproved that logic today, because that's a question that really bothers me. Again, my personal recommendation to close out here, I recommend Thorne for almost everything. Again, I have a website at yourpersonalpharmacy.net, and all these products are available for sale, and you'll see that almost all the products are Thorne. The foundational products that I think everyone should take is going to be a probiotic, a multivitamin, whey protein, fish oils, and turmeric. And there's very few exceptions there. I just want to disclose that if you are taking cardiovascular disease medications, talk to your cardiologist first. If you're going to take fish oils, there's some evidence to suggest that maybe fish oils aren't good for certain types of cardiac disease patients. So that's a separate population. And if you're taking prescription medications like blood thinners, pain meds, psych meds, or diabetes medications, turmeric may not be the best product for you. But if you don't fall into one of those categories, 100%, you should all be taking those 5 products. Again, that's a probiotic, a multivitamin, a whey protein powder, a fish oil, and a turmeric. That is what science has shown is going to give you the most benefit. And when you use Thorne brand products, you can rest assured you're getting the highest quality supplements and ingredients possible. So again, I'm trying to help people understand that the reason why people don't think supplements work is they take the wrong ones, whether it's the wrong brand, the wrong product. I think that's where a lot of misinformation comes from. I also want to include that if you're not taking prescription medications and you want to get a real life boost, 100% try adaptogens. Thorne makes a great product called Memoractive, which has bacopa and ashwagandha in it, which are my two favorite adaptogens. It's great for things like memory, focus, energy, and reducing anxiety and all of the above. So if you're someone that feels sluggish in the morning throughout the day, someone has a hard time focusing or having high levels of energy, or someone who struggles from a lot of anxiety issues, Thorne Memoractive is a great product. There are other separate adaptogens we can also talk about offline, but that's a great product to start off with. I personally love adaptogens. I will tell you 100% adaptogens changed my life when I started taking them about 17 years ago. And I think in terms of a supplement that can make a difference in the world, it's adaptogens. I think in 5, 10, 15, 20 years, everyone will be taking adaptogens. And that's just my favorite product. I talk about that all day. And also for people who want a memory boost, there's a really cool product called lecithin, which not a lot of people know about. It's basically a concentrated fatty acid. It's great for the brain. It's the cheapest supplement out there. You can literally get 200 doses for like $20. So you can literally take a supplement for 9 months that may be the best supplement for your brain for $20 for 9 months. So in terms of trying to improve your health, cognition, brain function, reaction times, all that stuff, check out lecithin. More to come on that. That's a great product. So that's everything I have today. I hope you guys enjoyed that, whether you're watching it live or watching the repeat here. Again, just to kind of break it down into a few sentences, supplements are not safe unless you're taking third-party certified supplements. That is a real concept that I wish more people knew. If you're not buying Thorne brand, pure encapsulations, or Garden of Life brand, you're basically wasting your money and putting your health at risk, especially if you're taking prescriptions. If you are taking prescriptions and you're taking non-certified supplements, you are putting your health at risk. And if you're taking prescriptions and you're not talking to a healthcare professional about your supplements, you're also taking a risk. So please, 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 if you fall into those categories, do some research, find a healthcare professional, check in with them. I'm more than happy to do free consultations. I can be reached at welcome@yourpersonalpharmacy.net is an email, or if you just go to my website at yourpersonalpharmacy.net and do the contact us, you can get a hold of me that way. I'm more than happy to spend 20, 30, 45 minutes talking to you, getting to understand what's going on, and give you some real science-based, evidence-based information that's safe and effective. We gave some really great examples of why probiotics are so important, protein powders are so important, things like zinc are really important, fish oils, lecithins, adaptogens, turmeric, all that good stuff. I hope you guys got something out of this. Again, we're doing this once a week, Tuesdays at 6:30, always talking about health and wellness. And basically my goal is to simplify this information, hopefully as much as I can. I know this is a little bit long here, but there's a lot that goes into it. I try to repeat and summarize. I try to have a concise ending. So if you just want to skip to the beginning, the end, or the middle, wherever it's going to be, there's going to be summaries. And I hope you guys got something out of it. Again, my name is Chris. I'm the Helpful Pharmacist. I'm a biochemist and a pharmacist, as well as a supplement expert and a supplement junkie. I hope you guys had a good time today. I know I did. Thank you and have a great day. Bye.